So how are you both doing? I mean, massive congratulations on this. This is like
Thank you.
so powerful. How are you sort of feeling? You must be very proud and pleased with I'm guessing the reception so far from who's seen it.
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud. I've been proud since we were shooting it, you know what I mean? Proud of everybody involved, but it's a strange one really, because now we're here doing this and it's like, it all started with just a little idea and, and then it grew and grew and grew and Jack and everyone got involved and it was just like, it's just still our baby.
Yeah.
In a way, and now our baby's off to uni.
To be absorbed and make people think about it. I mean, I guess it's such a thought-provoking and powerful set of discussions and topics. And I mean, we sort of talked about the one shot with Stephen a minute ago.
Okay,
that was a sort of the start point from what I heard. Can you talk about how you both got involved? I know you've worked with Stephen on, I think he's at 8 projects or something like you.
Wow, he's inflating it.
Just a couple, yeah.
I like it.
Well, a lot of projects. Anyway.
We've done 6. This is our 6th.
6, okay, yeah. Because you did The Virtues, and which was incredible as well. And you've done Boiling Point as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the start point, how this began to grow into a...
Well, it all started with a general meeting that I had with Plan B, and they had seen Boiling Point and said to me, we're really interested in doing something in the one take world, but in the TV space with you and Stephen. How do you feel about that? And I was like, really? Again? And I sort of went away and thought about it. I was like, no, this could be really cool, and so I said they just said, go away and have a think of an idea.
And pop the stress levels again for the one shot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Think about an idea, and so me and Steve were just driving in a car on the way somewhere, and at the time there'd been a few incidences of these knife crime, but it wasn't just it was young men, young boys killing young girls, and there's been a couple of them, and we both sort of were like, why is this happening? Why are these kids being drawn to pick up a knife and stab a girl? Like what's causing that? And so the idea is just sort of, Stephen just was throwing all these things at me in the car, and I'm like, this is brilliant. And then cut to a couple of months later, and we sort of pitched it back to the producers, and then we got Warp Films on board, and everyone was like really excited about it, and we're like, right, who are we going to get to sort of write this? And Stephen's obviously worked with Jack loads. He's like, I might just ask Jack. I was like, what do you think he'd do it? Oh my God. I was like, I would literally love to work with Jack. Anyway, Steve pitched it to him, and Jack was like, no, I won't write it, but I will write it with you. We'll do it together. And then it was just like, oh my gosh. So they went away and sort of we were, back and forth loads. And I think what for me, it's like, at every step of the way, the passion and the excitement for the project has been sort of unmatched, really. Anything that I've ever done. So my passion for it at the beginning with Stephen, it was like electric, and then Jack comes on board, and he has the equal energy and for the project and feeling that we and it's just been like that since the start, really. And everyone, all down to the AD team, like Sarah, my first AD, was just wonderful. Like,
we heard she was good. We heard she got a shout out in the casting.
She's the best.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and Shaheen, who cast all the kids, the whole team. When we were like sort of interviewing people, most of the team were my team that I've used on previous projects. But if we were interviewing somebody new, I would explain what we were doing, and if they had any doubt, then we'd just be like, look, this is not for you then, love to work with you in the future, but maybe not on this project, because you need someone to come in and go, oh my God, yeah, we could try this, or we could do it this way, whatever. And you're like, yes, that's the energy we need.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so enormously complicated.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the co-writing, because we've actually done so many of your movies, probably as many as Stephen's done, with the other writers or the directors on projects. So you're obviously very good at co-writing, and it's not an easy thing. Like, I mean, some people write on their own, some people write in sort of tandem. but you've got to be very adaptive. And it sounds like this is a project where everyone's sort of flexing together as the sort of direction moves. So how do you sort of work together in terms of forming, a story like this from idea into script? I mean, do you like write in one person does one scene, then you go back, or do you like do dialogue polishes? Like what's the kind of process on this one?
In terms of the actual process of writing, the typing, I did the typing.
Okay, you did the typing. Okay, yeah.
But the thing was the talking.
Talking, right.
And that's the thing of just kind of like working it out. And the big thing on this project was they had this sort of like, we want to talk about knife crime, but then it was, why did Jamie do it? And actually, we wrote quite a lot of Ep1 before we'd worked that out. And then we rewrote it after we'd worked it out. And we were going all over the place with lots of different ideas as to Jamie's motive. And then someone I work with, Mariella, said, I think you need to look at incel culture. Now, she's a younger person, and she was more plugged into it all. And as soon as we did that, and as soon as I started looking into how that whole thing works and going down some dark warrens.
Very dark warrens, yeah.
The whole thing just sort of opened up for me. I then understood what Ep2 was. I understood what Ep3 was. And to some degree, I understood what Ep4 was. And then as soon as I had that understanding, then I would write. I would send to Steve. Steve would then give me some thoughts. I would rewrite. And then would send to the whole group and then get some thoughts. And then Steve and I would talk and then I'd write again. And, so it was that process. It was talking, writing, talking.
Was there any difficulty in terms of like, the TV format as opposed to film in terms of how you structure like the different sections? I mean, we talked about episode 1, which is basically the arrest. And then we sort of go into the school and then we go into the child psychologist and we sort of build things out. And it works very well in a sort of structural sense. But was that clear at the start? I mean, how did you sort of fill the other bits around? Because that does seem quite complicated how to,
That's the hardest thing, but that's also the real benefit of it.
Right.
That when you're working on a show, everyone is always looking for the complete, right? Audiences are looking for the complete. They're going, okay, I want to know what's happening here. Who's he? What's this? How's this process working? What advice has been given here? How's this person feeling here? And you can't do that with this. And you're forced into the incomplete and you're forced into the partial. And that is a really interesting place to live in terms of writing. And I knew that the camera couldn't cut, but I didn't write with the possible in my head. I always sort of went, they can do anything.
Yeah.
and that my job.
Fill a workout.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
But it's a weird thing, right? So, and this is going to seem like a really weird thing to draw parallel with, but I did Harry Potter on the stage, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And with that, I never once worried about how we do something on stage. It was always like, okay, I'm going to go for it. And then we're going to sit in a room and we're going to talk about it and we're going to try and find a way of doing it. Because if you write with a conservative sort of hat on, if you write with the sort of link, then you don't get to see this guy going, okay, I can make a camera fly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've got to sort of force those questions by just taking big swings and then seeing what happens at the other end with those swings. And so few of the big swings I wrote in, do you know what I mean? Like, cars and windows and people chasing and do you know what I mean? Like, all these mad shit. So little of that, Phil went, nah, that doesn't work. And when he did say that doesn't work, it was generally because he knew it would look shit. Rather than because he didn't know how to do it technically.
No, I love that. I love that sort of approach. And I always feel when I read stuff as well, and I feel like it's the duty of the director and the producer to figure out how to do something. And sometimes those limitations make something really impossible done in a really unusual way that's actually really original.
Yeah.
And when you take it away, you just sort of end up with this vanilla level where no one's aspiring to, fail on a big level. And I think it's good to aim to fail.
Well, it's about taking risks. And like what Jack said, I read a script and there was rarely moments where I'd be like, ooh, not sure how we're going to do that. Like,
I had moments when I was watching, I was like, like the playground, I was like, shit, how?
Yeah.
How on earth do you do that?
I wrote a fire drill. I wrote an entire fire drill.
Yeah.
The first AD team must be having panic attacks.
Yeah. The producer, Joe Johnson, still hates me. He still hates me to this day for that. 350 kids he had to cope with.
Yeah.
Because of me.
Yeah, because of you, man.
I wrote a fire drill. I said, I'll bring the whole school together.
Sitting in your armchair at night, like,
yeah. Let me see what they do.
Yeah.
But no, it's it does it. I always like to think outside the box anyway, and so with a one take, you've got no. It always has to serve the story, right? It can't be just like, oh, let's do this amazing, cool thing, because if it's not, and it's just like. The audience, you're going to lose the audience.
Mm.
You don't want them to ever think about the one take. You don't want them to ever sort of be like, look how clever they are. Look what they're doing now. I mean, we do fly off on a drone and then land it, which is ridiculous.
Pretty clever.
But it's the end of the movie and it's more, ethereal than like one of the rules that we always had was the camera never leaves a person. It's always got to be attached to somebody and they cross over and whatnot.
Otherwise, you say it looks like a computer game.
Otherwise, it looks like a computer game. And you don't want the audience to ever feel like they're watching the camera. It's got to be a subconscious extra feeling layer of, tension and anxiety at times. But also,
it does make you very anxious, like watching it, like especially when you're like just stuck in a zone with someone in a very intense.
Well, you can't turn away. You know what I mean? It's like if someone stares at you for ages and it starts to become uncomfortable, a bit like I don't really. You know what I mean? It's that.
Did you ever forget that you're watching a one take?
I mean, quite often, yeah. I mean, most of the time, I sort of get sort of sucked into the performances and the story of it. But look, as a filmmaker, I think it's slightly different because you're looking at it and you're just like,
of course,
the playground. I'm just thinking, like, oh, how the hell are you doing this? Or other bits. And then I suppose, you're less aware when it's the sort of the other side of the one take where you're like in the car with, Stephen and his family and it's just holding because that's, again, you're not aware of the camera, but I'm aware like, well, there's such a huge amount of notes for the actors to hit, in one go. Like that's just as hard for them, performance side.
But isn't it interesting that if you were doing a car journey, you would have 4 or 5 angles on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Phil got 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and that in itself.
Equally tricky, yeah.
Like the moment for me when the whole project came alive was watching rehearsals for Ep 3, which is our first one we shot.
Yeah.
And seeing Matt had an iPad while you were directing the actors. He had an iPad and seeing that he was going to sit on Erin's face for 9 lines of dialogue rather than doing the 1, 2, 1, 2, 2 shot. Do you know what I mean? And just going, oh, this whole thing is going to be about artistic choice and it's going to unleash the show in a totally different way from the way that most shows are made.
Yeah. I mean, let's jump into that while we're on it. I mean, because the psychology scene, I think, is one of the best things I've seen on television. Like, I mean, her performance and his performance, Owen's as well. And they're both like unbelievably good. And there's so many layers to it and so many really interesting like flips in how they're reacting to each other. How do you choose whose face to be on? Because I mean, you could miss something gold when you're on one person and then the other person is. I mean, was that sort of found through rehearsals? Like, did you ever like write in the writing side like this bit is on this person, or is that?
No, I don't think there was any of that. But Jack was in the. We did 3-week blocks. It was for each episode. So we do first week would be just rehearsal with the actors. Me, actors. Jack was in the room, working stuff out. Making seeing what worked and stuff. And it's partly an instinctive thing. It's because you can hear a pin drop in that episode. And I think if you're holding on somebody's face and you're just hearing the other person, like for example, we did a radio interview yesterday, right? And I heard Jamie's. They played a bit of episode 3, and I could only hear it. I couldn't see it. It was the first time I'd experienced it like that, just hearing his voice. And it did something else. I was like, I knew exactly what he was, I could picture him, what he was doing, but because I couldn't see him, I was so like, it just heightened it for me. And I was like, oh, it sounds different. It sounds like, and so it was a conscious choice about where we sort of, who we look at what particular time.
But you were varying it quite a lot.
We were trying it.
And that was the really interesting thing. And I remember the moment when you just went, actually, we are going to just sit on his face for this section. And I found it really difficult as a writer to go, oh, but there's all this beautiful things happening here.
Yeah.
But it was just so.
But you leave that up to the audience's imagination as well.
And Matt and Phil, when they are a sort of two-headed animal. Do you know what I mean? And that they are, but they communicate with like a. Do you know what I mean? Or a thing. Do you know what I mean? And so it's not like
one way or the other.
There's not like big discussions about everything. It's just kind of like, and you just see it between the two of them where they're they know each other so well that they speak a sort of non-verbal. It's telepathy.
We would like shoot all the rehearsals and then we'd go and watch it back and be like, no, maybe this needs to be just slightly over this side or hold on a 2-shot there or whatever, But yeah, it's about those transitions as well. Is like, it's important to, you're not going there and then suddenly whipping around to this one. It's like, it has to feel.
There's a reason for it.
Yeah. And also the pace as well of the camera moves is really important,
I mean, I suppose another question that it really like got me thinking about is the subtext of when you're looking at someone reacting to something versus when you're actually seeing them say the thing. Because when you're watching the reaction, obviously you're getting the feeling of how that person is reacting to the, when they're shouting or they're saying a line. But then also there's like, I guess it allows the audience to fill in the gaps in some traditional moments when you would naturally just assume by what you're seeing that they're doing it a certain way. So maybe it's like, I don't know, it felt to me like it was expanding how you think about some of these, the senses and like, what someone's intentions are and like what the wider meaning is of dialogue.
A prime example of what you're saying there was in episode 1 where Jamie's being strip searched.
Yeah.
And one of the ideas initially, we've got a 13-year-old boy. We can't have him, like, it was like, from the moment that I read that, I was like, that's amazing. But we can't have the actor stripped naked because he has to strip to get changed because we can't cut and then suddenly he's in his clothes.
Yeah.
So we really sort of worked out how we were going to do that. So at that point, Jamie goes behind a curtain where nobody can see him. He quickly gets changed, but the whole time we're holding on Stephen's face. And then later on, we put in the sound of his footsteps, like just moving across and turning around. And also the Connor who plays the police officer who's talking him through it and saying, turn around, face me. Those words and seeing Stephen's reaction is, you don't need to see him.
No. I mean, you get so much.
What's going on.
The awkward. I mean, it makes it all more awkward in a way because you're just, you're having to experience it through the eyes of someone that really doesn't want this to be happening.
Exactly. And you can see him, the little nuances in Stephen's face is like he's really going through this,
Yeah, and I suppose that's quite nice for the act. Not nice in that scene, but it's nice for the actors when they're also, it's almost like you, the director, sort of coaching them through the take because they're giving the directions and then they've got something to sort of like all these marks to hit. So it's kind of it does. I mean, it's very. I mean,
it's like doing a play. I guess you are on stage the whole time. You've got to be in character the whole time. And I think what that does for the actors is like, it forces them to be able to be in the moment and be present.
And it empowers them.
And it empowers them, to be able to. One of the things I always said to them was, look, if something goes awry or something goes wrong, you mess up your lines, don't worry about it. Just keep going because the other person will be there to pick you up.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Because that's what we are. We're a close-knit team and family and we've all got each other's back.
Yeah, I think we had a football analogy from
you'll always get one from Stephen, It's always a football analogy.
Yeah. but it's true. I mean, I suppose that's kind of what it is like if actors, in an ideal world, they're always listening to each other and reacting and they're not breaking character. Like they're just simply, ping-ponging, hitting the back on every bit of dialogue.
Yeah.
And I suppose you sort of hit perfection in that kind of, that world.
Well, it was about casting actors who can do that, you know, because a lot of the time we would audition people and you can just see the type of actor they are, and it's fine. They're doing their thing, but you know, you have to be empathetic, and you have to be able to put your attention on the other person, as opposed to thinking about what you're going to do.
Yeah, you can't. It just won't work if you're in your head, or it's like a sort of a performance. It just doesn't work with this kind of drama, because you have to be able to. I feel like in a way, like it's the sort of the catharsis of like being able to watch something like this, is that you can actually just feel sad with the characters.
Yeah.
And you can sort of feel their pain, and it actually makes it manageable in a strange kind of way.
I mean, I also like, I tend to not give too many notes to actors, but if I do give a note, I will tend to give the other actor the note for this actor.
Yeah.
Because, you know, because the type of actors that I've chosen and we've cast, I know how they all work. So, for example, with Owen in episode 3, I didn't give Erin any notes throughout the whole process. Maybe tiny ones, but like maybe logistical ones, but not. Because I know she's a very reactive actor. And I know whatever I told Owen to do, she would just go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same with Stephen. Stephen's a prime example of that. Like, you've got to be on top of your game. You've got to be listening to him.
Yeah.
Because he'll call you out right in the middle of it.
Your plot, not pep.
Am I Klopp?
Yeah,
I love
not
that.
pep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or slot, maybe in this case. He's doing very well.
Yeah.
Doing very well, yeah. So, I mean, just briefly going sort of to the, back to the one take, so my mind's sort of drifting into the episode 1 where you're like choosing, characters. How does that script change from how you've written it? Because I suppose in that episode, especially when you get into the police station, you're flipping from one, actor to another as it sort of jumps across. That almost, to me, like I can imagine the script just being like condensed to absolutely essential moments when you're flipping, or was it all in there?
It was all in there.
It was all in there. Okay. Because I mean, it looks quite complicated to manage all those different like.
But that's the joy of it. Do you know what I mean? Like that you knew that you had the baton passing, and do you know what I mean? Like and that thing of just keeping the camera moving. What we did do quite a lot of was change things, adapt things when we discovered the space and how much. But the space was made. That police station was made. Adam created that police station for the script.
Yeah,
and I don't know how much he thought about it, but it felt like he thought about how many steps we need in order so that when we're on the top level, we've enough time has passed for a certain dialogue moment to happen. So it was just kind of like, it was joined up thinking, but the script needed to be very secure in order to allow everyone to do their thing.
Is there any issue with, I mean, obviously you've got very good actors, but like you can't sort of get away with a background actor or
Again, 350 children. 350
children. You can't get away with anyone that's like slightly fluffing in the background. Or, I mean, it's a thing that happens. Sometimes an actor that's like a day player, maybe they haven't done a role in a while, or maybe it's just they're not in the right vibe. There's a bit of nerves. And like, it's not just you, like, if you like bugger it up, it's like the entire like 20-minute take.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
An hour take.
Yeah, an hour take. So, I mean, obviously you're talking about the football team thing that, I mean, I'm guessing comforts everyone, but like, did you have any issues with like people that you cast that were like, getting into those kind of territory and like, how did you sort of
maybe we're getting a bit left back that's getting a bit old that can't keep up with the play anymore. Yeah. I see where you're going.
Well, I think like, we rehearsed it for 2 weeks.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so the first week was just me and the actors. The second week was a tech rehearsal. So on that tech rehearsal, everybody's in. So we got 5 days with, all of the crew, every single member of the crew, and all of the SAs as well. So they know the moves. They know it. So on a normal shoot, an SA's coming in.
It's like muscle memory in a way.
Exactly
like you're pushing them into like comfort by routine in a way.
But I think I think the thing that they learned during that time was that it was theirs.
Yeah.
I actually think it was about them being confident enough to go, this is mine. Whatever happens, I've got control of this. And actually seeing, because Stephen's got this sort of like, these shoulders that just come out, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, but seeing the other actors find their shoulders was one of the best things about the project. Do you know what I mean? Like, seeing Ashley Walters just kind of like, just go, this is mine.
Ashley was terrified on day one of rehearsals. He's told me that since. He's like, he didn't know whether he could do it, whether he could pull it off. And
wow. He was great.
He was
great. Rests on his back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, with all this chaos going all the way through it, and he tells the story on his face.
Yeah.
And that was about him just going, this is mine.
I love the armor that the different characters have, like him and the other officer, like at the start in the car. Like the way that they, like, you sort of see their vulnerabilities and they're like, they're a little dynamic. And then you see this like quite hard, and you think, well, why are they being so hard? And then obviously as the story develops, you realize that they've got to put on this armor. And same in the psychologist, like you've got to have this armor to protect you against.
Everybody's got two masks.
Two masks.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just sort of going into getting stuff like this made. I mean, now you're obviously both in positions where you can get drama made. I mean, I've had 2 conversations in the last, 3 or 4 months saying drama's impossible. Don't ever try and make drama. Like, it's not hard. It's just like impossible. How did you navigate that when you were both like starting off, like trying to get these kind of meaningful stories like off the ground and into production?
It is hard. Yeah. I mean, for me, I started out as an actor.
Yeah.
So I sort of I came up that way, and sort of it's all about performance for me. So whenever I read something, it's got to speak to me. I read stuff as with an actor's brain, I guess. So I think I can hear the voices, I can visualize it, and so I think the drama for drama's sake is probably that is hard. But if the drama is sort of saying something, like this, for example, about society, or if it speaks to a certain type of people, then I think, we need drama.
Yeah.
We need drama. It's never going to go away.
No.
So I think finding the right projects, and, for me personally, like even back when I was starting out, it's like, I feel like if I read something and I'm not 100% immersed in it straight away, then it doesn't mean it's a bad script or it's a bad project. It just means that I'm not the right person to move
or it's not personal enough. Yeah.
Yeah. And I have to feel it, and I have to really, it has to really take me on a journey,
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I just would never do a project unless it like personally, gets some kind of reaction. And what about you? What's your?
I think that, I think drama is in crisis at the moment, and I'm worried about young writers, and I'm worried about what opportunities they're being given, and I'm worried that they're being forced to think conservatively about a medium that doesn't have to be conservative. And that we're tricking ourselves into a situation where everything has to be a crime drama in order to get an audience.
Or genre. I mean,
exactly. And that's commissioning. That's everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, and we need young voice. We need the next Jimmy McGovern. We need the next Michaela Cole.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and arming those people in this climate is really, really tough. And and there's got to be big conversations about what this industry wants to be.
Yeah.
When this transition, when the end of terrestrial, when that transition happens, how we handle that as a country, and how we make sure that, we're worldwide leaders in this stuff. I'm not saying we're the leader, but we're leaders in this stuff. We do stuff really well.
Yeah.
And we do stuff really well because we've made talents that feel power, feel their own power. And at the moment, I don't see young writers being given that power at all. And it's
or directors. I mean, it just seems everyone's like pushed into genre, and in the UK, there's just no risks or support being taken. It's
and that's exciting. And that's why this from Netflix is exciting, because they are taking a shot at this. And and I just did the show Toxic Town, which similarly was. Do you know what I mean? Like, Netflix taking a risk on social realism, and hopefully they keep doing it. We need to prove that there is an audience for this stuff. And if we can prove there is an audience for this stuff, then maybe more of this stuff gets made.
On that note, let's support good drama. And lovely to chat to you both. And keep making good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Thanks,
Nice
man.
one.
See you on the next.